You're just a drop in the ocean, but you're also that ocean holding drops. Whatever weight I was, I used to love running. I used to run, participate in all the races.
I'm more interested in this conversation now because you mentioned running, because that's our drug. That's the sport we absolutely love.
I was, in my late 20s. I had a very acute deficiency of B12, and it was also something to do with my bone marrow, with which I was losing sensation in my limbs. So maybe that one morning, waking up to having no sensation in my limbs, and needing my husband to move my arm so I can start to feel the sensation come back, because there was just absolutely no movement. All of that was a reason why I was meant to do what I'm doing now. Yoga doesn't need to be like, perfect posture and, it should look this way. I think that's a big myth sometimes, I feel.
I think we're all led to believe that if anything is going to be transformational, it must be difficult. Maybe that's where it comes from. But honestly, in life, it doesn't need to be. It's most of the time, it is just small things and small efforts done consistently over a long period of time. That's what it is. Let's hear about Kundalini Yoga. Super excited.
So, Kundalini Yoga is
I truly believe the human potential is actually limitless, but we still live a very limited life, and that's limited by circumstances, by lack of knowledge, tools, experience, exposure, many things. But I believe most of all, we live a limited life because we don't have the right tools to unlock our potential, which is why on this podcast, we aim to have people who can share their knowledge, experience, and give us some tools that can help us live our ultra life. This conversation is with Gunjan Amrit Kochhar, who leads Amrit Shala, which is a sanctuary of healing and self-discovery. Gunjan is also a Kundalini Yoga teacher with over 2 decades of experience, and she comes highly recommended by a lot of people. As usual, we've tried to dive deep into her own life, how she got started, what really inspired her, and what she's learned along the ways. It's a free-flowing conversation like we always have on the Find Your Ultra podcast. So we've taken detours and we've touched upon many things to do with life, mostly revolving around my own curiosities. And I'm pretty sure you'll be able to relate to some of them at least. I really loved this conversation, and I really hope that you will too. And without further ado, here's Amrit Gunjan Kochhar and me in the Find Your Ultra podcast, Indulge Away. Amritji, welcome to the Find Your Ultra podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to be doing this. I have followed your profile for a while. I've seen some of the work that you do, and I thought we should have a conversation. There is a lot of suffering out there, and we need tools that can help us deal with life better. And I think you're just a perfect person to tell us more about that. So let's begin with getting to know you, because on this so Find Your Ultra podcast is about maximizing our life, our potential. How can we live our life's ultra version? So that is what we aim to do. And we aim to equip people with ideas and inspiration, and we bring stories that can help us do that. So let's begin with getting to know the person, and then their message. That's how we usually do it. But let's begin with something different. How about beginning with the mission? What's the mission that you're on, and why does it matter to you?
Well, if I go into the literal meaning of the word mission, I don't have a mission.
Okay.
We hear these quotes, or we read them, that, you're just a drop in the ocean, but you're also that ocean holding drops. You can see it which other way. So as my journey of life, I see it as not a mission, but just as my path. And over the years, it's more like my dharma, I feel. So something that just feels right, something that just wakes me up every single day to looking forward to who can I serve today, or who's looking out to, have a better life, including myself. So
Wow.
I would see it as that path, or the dharma.
How's dharma different? What does dharma mean?
Yeah. So, dharma is like a path of righteousness, or it could mean, in a nutshell, for me, it's a path. That's all a dharma is. When you're knowing that, whatever you're adding every day to your life is doing good to you, and then that also to me is a discipline. Discipline is dharma, and dharma is also a discipline for me.
Wow. Okay.
So I think for me that is what it is. It could have many meanings for many people, that I have this dharma, I am, so that I also has to slightly kind of be a little detached, because then dharma shows you the way. It's because it is the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, let's go back. Then what brought us here, like to the point, Amrit, where she is now, what she does. Tell us, take us back to your childhood.
Wow. So yeah, that's like you're taking me back to rebirthing, right? So childhood, it was great. I had a very good childhood. I was a happy child. I was a bit overweight as a child. So it was more like, also the time when, you're in school, you just enter school and there is this bullying, and so, it was not easy to make friends immediately, and then it's like you just start to find your way. So for me, sports was a big high. So whatever weight I was, I used to love running. So I used to run, participate in all the races, and even make myself, win some. And then it went on to, just being like, I was like one of the favorites for teachers most of the times. And my childhood also was like, I mean, I still laugh, but I could be like, the laughing Buddha of the class. So, I could just keep laughing. And my teachers had a great time because, they would, even if there was something they needed to scold me or something, they would just start laughing themselves because, it distracts us because when you laugh, we just all like to laugh. Yeah. So I think the childhood memories for me is just about being joyful, enjoying my favorite food. And, coming through all the bullying, but just, kind of having a confidence in myself. And that started building up, working out in the middle school and then really taking a form I was looking to visualize, I was looking at being, it actually all manifested.
First of all, I mean, I have a little bit of a bias. I'm more interested in this conversation now because you mentioned running because that's our drug. That's the sport we absolutely love. And bulk of the audience that I have is, at the moment as well, at least, is also runners.
Yeah.
And
okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah. So wonderful. You mentioned bullying. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, when you enter school and you're so you're not like really perfect. What you don't know as a child, what's perfect, but you know that if you're bigger size than others,
or so that's what you're fed, like that's what you've been told by people,
or how you that's how you're told, and also that's how then you're seen, and that's what you start to believe. And once you believe it, then you project it.
Yeah.
So what was different was that being that, and then so not really like finding friends was really hard that time. So, it's the easiest to just say bully and, she's fat and she's like this and, whatever. So that was mainly as it was as a child. So I think that really makes me very sensitive when I have children and when I see children that, how important it is to have no name calling, have no labels. How much of that can be possible?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not 100%, but just that intention that, it didn't serve me well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think beliefs that we are fed early in life matter a lot. I mean, just the other day, just to give you an example, I was sitting with my daughter. It was a working day and I was working from home and she wanted to play with me. So it was a Saturday. I was sort of about to wrap up. So I was like in a rush to wrap up work so that I can just spend more time with her. She was trying to make something with some torn pieces of paper. And she was saying, "Isse gaadi banaungi main aapke liye." And she's 3 years old. So I was like, okay, bana lo. And then I'm working. And then she's constantly calling me like, "Aa jao, aap bhi banao mere saath mein." Aata hu. Couple of times that happened. And then she got a little irritated and she's like, "Aa jao abhi." And I'm like, ये फटे हुए पेपर से नहीं बनेगा, ठीक है. And then I started working again. And a minute later, she said, ये नहीं बन रहा है. So I was like, नहीं, लेकिन आप तो बोल रहे थे बनाओगे. और वो बोलती है कि पर आपने बोला ना अभी फटे हुए पेपर से नहीं बनेगा. So like, dude, that shook me up a little bit. I mean, एक दिन पहले ही मैंने कुछ कोट पढ़ा था Instagram पे. If you tell your child Santa is real, they'll believe you. If you tell your child they're stupid, they'll believe you. So what you say to them matters a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, we all have stories of childhood where we weren't like served the best of advices, and give, labeling and all of that goes a long way in shaping you as a person, which we didn't realize back then. I mean, there's conversation about it now. There are psychologists on the podcast. There are people like you who can now vocalize these things, and people can discuss and get better. But our parents did the best that they could. They didn't know about all of this stuff, did they?
I just believe that whatever you say to the child is not important. What you do is important for the child to see. So we can keep telling them that this is the way, or this is what it is, and you will see after years, having 3 of them, you will see maybe after years they will actually say and answer you sometimes, and or just let themselves express in a way and say that but you did this. So even whether they're at a very young age, if we actually see that the power in a child is all about observation, how deeply they observe everything, that's what makes them who they are, and that's how they imitate.
Wow.
Their whole stage in the early growing years of 0 to 7 is imitation. And that's their foundation.
Yeah.
So whatever we may say to them may matter.
Yeah.
But what we do matters even more.
Correct.
So if you picked up that paper and you actually made it with your daughter, she would believe it.
Yeah.
She will not even remember that you said it can't.
Which is precisely what I did. I was like, I have to undo what I just did. So I went and made that with her. Yeah. No, I totally agree. You can't make the child what you can't make them do what you yourself don't do, or you don't yourself believe in.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fair.
Yeah. Great. And where were you born and brought up?
Very much in New Delhi.
Okay.
Born and brought up in New Delhi. Studied in a convent school. And
Wonderful. So what led you down the path of yoga and Kundalini yoga and meditation and healing? All the 1 million things that you do.
Wow, that's a good way to see it. I never saw it 1 million. I used to think it was 1 million, but now I think over a period of time, the focus changes. You're just like, you're not linear, but you're so focused that this is where one thing transforms into the other.
Sure.
So starting from where I started, well, it goes back almost more than 2 decades now. When I had my first child, and in school we were very active. Like I said, I was a very active sports person. I was a basketball captain in my school. It's still my favorite game. But then coming into, I had my child, and I was having a lot of pain in my shoulder. And that's when, because, when you feed your child and you have stress in the body somewhere, you will find that stress gets accumulated. So I had this weak left side, and, I used to get this really excruciating pain. I tried a lot of things, like, try physiotherapy and try, massages and everything. Nothing really worked. So that was my initial time. And then I also, I remember hearing from my cousin, saying that, have you ever tried yoga? And that time my first child, he was 10 months, and I never had heard about yoga as such. Failing to recognize that my mother was always a practitioner when we were in maybe the high school or something, but you're so busy that you don't even know your mother still wakes up at 4 a.m. and she practices. So I said, no, I haven't, and maybe I should. And that's when I started looking out for that. And I found a great teacher. And my first ever class just was like a imprint of my past life. Felt like I was meant to do this. It was it was just so assuring. And then I remember just standing there and telling myself exactly from how many years I see myself as a teacher. Well, it's probably how your projection is. And years down, I actually went back to that memory and I calculated, and exactly that time period I was a teacher. No, isn't that weird? So I call it like your intuition. And when we start to believe into that, we always have this voice guiding us. And that first time when it's purely a consciousness, you tap into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I was very grateful. I heard that voice, and it did take me to that path. So that's how the yoga journey began for me. Through pain, discomfort, when you're looking out for releasing stress because that's the cause of the pain. It went down to many years. About I think. I was already practicing when I remember that in between a period I was extremely sick. That was my time. I was, in my late 20s, and I had a very acute deficiency of B12, and it was also something to do with my bone marrow, with which I was losing sensation in my limbs. So maybe that one morning, waking up to having no sensation in my limbs, and
That's
needing my
scary.
husband to move my arm so I can
Wow.
start to feel the sensation come back, because there was just absolutely no movement of energy, or what you call, now I understand, it is all the system. I think my system was down, as simple as that. And that's when I started treating myself with alternate medicine, homeopathy and stuff. But then,
Did that work?
yes, it started working, but I never left yoga. Though I was told, actually, I'm not going to say, I mean, I have to take it in a wrong way. But, if I showed it to a neurosurgeon that time, I was told, do not practice yoga. It made me more sick. So because for them, he thought it could be a trigger of some nerves. It could be a trigger of this or that. All of that was a reason why I was meant to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And that's how, if I may continue, that's where I continued the practice. There was this fine teacher coming home those days, and I'm sure he didn't know how to read my MRI, but it was like a placebo effect. He said, show me your MRI. And he said, nothing's wrong with you, but you should, because you're so devoted to the way you practice, why don't you go to Rishikesh? And there's a festival. So every year Rishikesh has a festival.
Yeah.
March 1st to the 7th, and maybe it changes at Paramatniketan Ashram.
What's the name of the festival?
International Yoga Festival.
Ah.
It's a beautiful festival.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone there?
No, I've heard about it though. Like a lot of people I keep seeing on Instagram.
Yeah. So I was trying to, kind of dodge myself having a child, almost 3 years by then. So I'm talking of when I was sick was about 3. He was 3 or maybe 3.5, 4. I did go, and that's when I went and I overheard at a railway station that, this lady somewhere from another country said, don't go to a Kundalini yoga class. You may land up in a mental asylum.
Wow.
So I told myself, anyways, I'm not okay. Let me just try that, So, and that's what I did. I went, and I just went into the class of my beloved teacher. She is 84-year-old now.
Wow.
And her name is Gurmukh Kaur Khalsa. And I just sat there in about 100 people in the tent. And I just sat in the back of the room. And something exploded within me. I couldn't stop my tears for the longest time. And then I went every day to that class in the festival.
Yeah. So before we get on to Kundalini yoga a bit, just tell me when you mentioned that your friend suggested try yoga and you did, and it was a realization of some kind that you were meant to do this forever. What kind of yoga was that?
So when I started with a more vinyasa kind of practice,
Okay.
Ashtanga vinyasa, and
And that was what made led to the realization.
yeah. So absolutely, yoga means union. So for me, every yoga is yoga.
Okay.
It's just that the lineage wise, when we do certain different way of doing it, that's when I would say we have a difference. But overall, it means all one to me. So I practiced that, and that was it was a Vinyasa Ashtanga class.
You just meant to you just flow with things, and you land up where you're meant to land up. So yeah, running was my thing. So I never really explored this. So let's. So I think we're in the right place. Let's hear about Kundalini yoga. Super excited.
So, well, Kundalini Yoga is a technology, it's a science. And, the science works in a very unique way. Like we know that science has a background. We will know that if it's backed by science, either ways, then we have a proof of something.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how this technology works. So there'll be many, many teachers out there, but, every teacher has a distinct way to put the tools together. In this technology, we have the trinity of the movements, which are the physical exercises. Then there is breath work, and then there is mantra. And the mantras are not just one mantra, but they're various. So yes, it does come from culturally say a mantra like Har, which means divine and God. And it's also mantra like Vaheguru, which can be taken as coming from the Granth Maharaj. And then there's also Hallelujah. There's also Amen. So it's a beautiful blend. It's like a web of beautiful mantras. And when you have all these tools together, it actually encompasses about 22 different lineages of yoga in one lineage.
Wow.
So why Kundalini then becomes really powerful? Because you do everything together in different lineages. A little background that, I did my training in traditional yoga as well. Then I went into transformational yoga. Also Vinyasa Krama. He's a living teacher, he's a beautiful teacher still who teaches. So all these different lineages have a very different way. Some may focus a lot on the asana practice. Iyengar is another practice I have, done for many years. So, you may have posture, you may have the breath work come in much later. In some, you just focus on, say, if it's just the bhakti yoga, for example,
Sure.
Then it's a different way, it's chanting and stuff and so on. So 22 different varieties of yoga coming together in one.
Wow.
That's how it becomes like a superpower. Yeah.
Okay. What are the origins, I wonder? Because you mentioned different faiths also sort of because of chanting and the mantras you mentioned, or the way of addressing God. If that's all included, I wonder where it came from.
Came from the Hatha Yoga school. It comes from the root of Patanjali. So any yoga where it's come from the root is Hatha Yoga. Then it got transformed. It's just like, okay, there's Iyengar, there's Ashtanga, there's Vinyasa Ashtanga, there is Vinyasa Krama, there is Kundalini Yoga, there is Yin Yoga, there is this yoga, and so many more kinds.
All right. So then, since you have the broader picture, what is it that you teach the most?
I only teach Kundalini Yoga.
Okay.
And I'm the only...
And why did you choose that?
Why? So I only teach Kundalini Yoga. Why I teach Kundalini Yoga? So when I go back to, the time when I was introduced and I went...
When the lady said
Kundalini
that
class,
you shouldn't go to class.
When I overheard, actually.
Yeah.
I overheard a conversation.
All right.
So that's how I made up my mind I should go. So when I went for that first session, it was the most expansive feeling. When you get that feeling when you look at your child, for example, when you had your child and you find that everything just changes, And then those moments really diminish sometimes. You have that moment of massive joy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's running for you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how you feel when you're so rooted and, you're with your body and, you're experiencing everything in that motion. No?
So if I may share with you how I've gotten the glimpses of this a couple of times. One was Vipassana meditation for the first time when I did it. I walked out of the session wondering what has just happened. So that was one time. Another time when I felt really that this was really an eye opener. So we do ultra marathons, and ultra marathons are longer distances than 42 kilometers. So I was doing my first 100 kilometers and I was towards the last 20-30 kilometers were remaining, and I was exhausted, completely about to give up, feeling like giving up. I had no energy and stuff. And then suddenly out of the blue, it's not like I consumed a gel or some energy or something, nothing, but I just continued because I was just so focused. I was never going to quit. That's what I had decided going into this. And then from that moment onwards, whatever distance that was, 70 to 80 or 80 to 90, whatever it was, I experienced a feeling which was something I hadn't experienced before. So this was almost like I was able to zoom out. So I had blisters, pain and bleeding in my foot or whatever. But I was still marching on because I was so focused. And at one point, I was able to actually rise above the body. And I came to a point where I couldn't feel the pain that I had. I could see this person, this body suffering, but it wasn't affecting me. And those 10, 15, 20 kilometers were a breeze. I was able to just go through them without anything. And that was the moment I got a glimpse of, maybe whatever the thing that I call myself, like me, is something bigger than this body. Ye experience abhi tak torture tha, and then suddenly this disappears. And it's not like you can tap into this all the time. I've done maybe 25, 30 ultras after that. Longer distances, tougher races. I've never felt that before. But it was just one glimpse of that. And then there was this Vipassana thing. So, in bits and pieces, I've experienced that there's maybe something hell of a lot more to us than just the body and the day-to-day that we have.
That's so blissful to hear, your experience. And yes, I think I can bring my little experience too. So when I went into that class, when I was still in that body, which wasn't 100%, kind of recovering from not being able to feel that, you have limbs. And then slowly I was much better with just alternate medicine. I didn't go for any specific Western medicine that time, but except for some testing and stuff, which was needed. That's it. So when I went for this class, my teacher, we did 11 minutes of a constant. So it's 11-minute constant movement of the body in that time. And the posture is like sitting on your heels in a child pose and interlock your fingers at the back. And, you just keep moving your arms up and down and you keep moving up and down.
Okay.
11 minutes was quite a lot,
I can imagine.
And you're sitting like that and you're doing that. So it's more like kinesiology. When you're constantly work at one place in the body, that part just explodes. There's the blockage kind of opens. I don't know what that was really still, very mystical. So I just feel that this was the way universe really created this for me. It made me have experience what it could be when you're not up to it. And then there are the miracles are when people walk in your life and they just tell you, go for this. It's like everything was just beautifully destined and the path was opening. And when I did that 11-minute, I had no idea how I did it. When I just sat up after chanting a lot as well, because chanting really helps to, what happens is we just like when we have a certain set pattern.
Yeah.
I know this is the route. Let me take this and I know.
Yeah.
But every day that route will have different traffic and we're not maybe prepared for that unknown.
Yeah.
So that unknown when you step into, and what happens is that, when you just go into that space without having to comprehend, and just trusting that you were brought here and your body got you here. And just with the mantra, it starts to clean up those brain waves, the patterns which are which are stuck. So it's almost like it is the neural pathways which began to change. And that for me was an explosion, you know, and I had never had experienced that before, you know. It was more, if I have to just put it in a, you know, like one word, it's more like it just joy, just innate joy, nothing else. You know, that was my first conscious choice I created, that I have to do this for a few more days till I'm here, you know, and never looked back.
Okay. I mean, I'm just trying to think of the way you're saying neural patterns change. I think that's the only way to change those neural patterns, because you have to first of all interrupt them. I think Joe Dispenza talks about it quite a bit, because 95% of our lives is just routine from the previous days, and you know, it's just carried forward, and then we do the same. We have the same thoughts, we have the same actions, and then we wonder why our life is not changing. So the way to go about that, he says, is to interrupt the pattern, and he talks about doing it through meditation, and I think that's one way. This singer Krishna Das, you hear him sometimes?
Yes, absolutely.
I love him, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Krishna Das, I've read his book. I'm forgetting what it's called, but and I actually heard the audio book while doing a parikrama in Mathura, Govardhan, and he talks about his experiences in Kenchi Dham with Neem Karoli Baba, and yeah, and then he still till date he does not like sort of advocate God, mystical things, and all of that. He says, I don't know whether God exists or not, but all I do know that is that when I chant, because he does chanting and satsang, right? So when I chant, for that period of chanting, the neurosis in my mind just sort of is on hold. It just goes away. And that's what puts a break in the neural pathways, and that makes space for the change to occur.
Absolutely. And also what happens is, because of that and combined with a conscious breath work and a posture, because it really is different when how you sit. When you're chanting, you know, when you lie down and chant, you may experience it differently. When you're sitting up and chanting, when you sit tall and chant, it's different, because when your spine is upright, there's lots of things happening in our body at that time. You know, it's like the brain serum is going to be stimulated because your spine is upright.
Yeah.
So how all these combinations come in and they help to make that space and discreate those patterns, and then, you know, it's like, if you really get that taster, and that's what you connect with. Not everybody may connect with it, right? So that could just be the beginning of a different life.
Yeah.
No?
Totally, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I think we just need to remove the blockages or the mental blocks that we have about certain things. Like, for example, yoga scares the hell out of me because I'm a runner, and most runners are like, not, speaking for myself and not for the entire community, but most runners are, in my opinion, they're very stiff bodies. And when we see people doing postures, what the hell is going on?
Wow.
How are you doing this? And yeah, we sort of try and steer away from that. But you know, once you remove those mental blocks and try something, like I'm doing some mobility workouts for the first time in my life.
Wow.
That's like probably a preschool of yoga. Like, yoga to shuru bhi nahi hua hai, usse bahut pehle ka hai wo. And I'm feeling immense benefits already in the agility, in the mobility, like waking up and like getting up and everything and moving about is much better.
Right.
And much less niggles and stuff. So once that block is removed, I can, you know, start to experience something like this. I have a friend, Ankita Konwar. Ankita is Milind Soman's wife.
Okay.
And Ankita is a yoga practitioner as well. And she's tried doing a couple of sessions for me. And, you know, we've made videos, and I promised her to go home and do this. But I don't.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
So there are, like, when we say yoga, I'll encourage you to maybe see some more of the pictures or the posts. What happens is that this was something I was reflecting that, maybe very rarely I have a posture and saying that this is something coming up. I may just have a picture sitting, literally doing nothing much.
Right.
I'm saying this because not that we don't. We do have intense sessions. Now, what happens in different lineages is that some places you do yoga, but it's not that you may perfect it in the beginning. Of course, 30 years you've sat with a certain way in a certain posture and your spine cannot be like, it can't change overnight. Your body will slowly start to change. That's again a pattern.
Yeah.
And it's again something to do with how there's psychology in it. And yet there is also a postural, the difference will only come when maybe your spine feels it really. Now there'll be the whole effort is body, mind, and soul. That's yoga. Now in the technology I practice, I do feel it's a big gift because there's no perfection of the postures. And there's not a posture which is going to be the way, like, we don't do headstands at all in Kundalini yoga. Okay, we may go into shoulder stands, we may do, different variations of different asanas. But what I'm trying to say is that when there is not a perfection needed, and just the beginning point is just to start moving your body, then the pressure eases out. Because I hear that a lot in just what you said. I'm extending that will this be tough for me?
Yeah.
Or will this be like this for me? And all I do is I just invite them and I say, just come and see. Stop where you need to stop.
Yeah.
Most importantly, we have to know where to stop. We have to know where we need to pause in life.
Yeah.
We can't just be on an autopilot. And that's what this technology does for me. Just stop. If I can't keep my arms up, say 3 minutes, you're going to keep your arms up and, keep this posture and relax your shoulders and just relax your neck and your spine is lengthened. Now, maybe not everyone can keep it for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And if I say, this is where your anger is going to start to release because you will start to fight it. And this is maybe one of the meditations for childhood anger. So holding postures, what is the really the story behind what you're doing? What is the therapy it'll bring to you? It only starts to show up because you're breaking down the deposits. So just saying, going back to yoga doesn't need to be like, perfect posture and, it should look this way. I think that's a big myth sometimes, I feel. When I see, we're all different, but how from childhood, like I said, being bullied and the body and this and that. If you see a perfect body, you think, oh, that's a yogic body. Not really. No, it doesn't need to be that. It needs to be your inner will, which has to just project from your body. So, yeah.
Yeah, just coming to think of why that is, why do people feel, because I think we're all led to believe that if anything is going to be transformational, it must be difficult. नहीं होगा तो फिर transformational कैसे होगा? Maybe that's where it comes from.
Maybe
But honestly, in life it doesn't need to be. It's most of the time it is just small things and small efforts done consistently over a long period of time. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, very rightly, I think one of my mentors just said this. Yesterday, we were just doing an Instagram live and she said this and she said, what I love about the trainings, when we go into trainings and we teach every year now, India has its trainings. What she really enjoys is just that whole space of unknown. So that transformation is unknown. We don't know what it's going to be like. That's why it is the fear of the unknown a lot of times.
It is, for sure.
I'm attached to a certain way. I'm attached to this body in a certain way.
Yeah.
I don't even know what all it can do.
Yeah.
So if that just kind of took a backseat one day, or just for a moment of 5 minutes, and you actually see how much it can do.
Yeah.
No? So I would say, it's just that unknown constantly.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think I'm actually enjoying this conversation. So we're taking so many detours. I know we have a lot to cover. But when I journal sometimes in the morning, one of the days I was just writing, today I have a long run. And on the long run, a fresh day is a fresh day, right? But you always have the baggage of the past. So because you've done last run was actually longer, so you already have start thinking that this one should be easier. Maybe the heart rate should be lower. Maybe the pace will be faster. And that's before you know it, there are 10 things that the baggage has given you. And if you can just do away with that and just approach today with an open mind completely, it could be difficult from, compared to last time. It could be easy. It could be better. It could be worse. But just enter into it with that excitement of the unknown is a good approach to go.
Yeah, because what happens is one of my teachers, I've done many things in between as a therapist and stuff. So what happens is that fear and excitement is actually a very fine line. Sometimes difficult to see whether it's fear, whether it's excitement.
Yeah.
So that also is a good, like a check-in. Is that really fear, or is it actually the excitement of the unknown? No?
Yeah, because if and Sam Harris talks about it, like anxiety feels pretty much same as excitement as well. Like the physiological, changes that you feel in your body are pretty similar. It's just the context that is different. Like if you're about to go on the stage and you're feeling anxiety versus something that is going to excite you, physiological changes are similar. Your heart rate will be a little up and all those. It's a story around it that
I agree completely. It is the story around it. And the story is again, like you said, like when you just said, how the same thing can feel different every single day also.
Yeah.
And I just also see it as, because that day was not same as the day before, I see it as how I slept wakes me up in a different way. What I slept with the night earlier will be the thought maybe I've passed down in my body again when I wake up. Or what time did I sleep? What meal did I eat? I mean, there's so many factors to it.
Absolutely. And everything affects it.
Everything,
connected.
Your whole social environment, your physical environment, your emotional environment, everything will affect this. How the same practice can feel different the next day.
Yeah.
No? So many factors.
And which is where, and it's funny, which is where you start craving the experience and the feeling and the vibrations or whatever you feel. And that leads to the downfall of it. So like I was telling you, when Vipassana, I felt it for the first time. The next day, you go in expecting you're going to feel this way.
Exactly.
And then you do your best to feel it. And you're like, you can't feel it. And then you get more frustrated and then you try harder. And then that it's just like sand. Jitni tight up pakdoge, wo utna nikhalti jati hai haath se.
Yes, and this is one...
It happens with Kundalini yoga also, I've heard. That people start craving that experience, the sensation.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, that's why I was bringing this up because... just like you already said it, not your yesterday is not today.
Yeah.
And your today is not tomorrow. It is what it is. Now, from this moment, either you can create that whatever you're really willing to create in full focus and presence, and that moment is enough. Because that'll carry you forward till as much as you have to in life, till you're destined and whatever. That's another conversation. But then that experience, when we get to why? Because we get attached to those experiences. And like in the Buddhist studies, as you're always here, the biggest source of suffering is attachment. And attachment to how, did this happen for me? But I'll say in my experience of whatever years of teaching now, I've barely had that experience with at least most of my students who probably have even stopped. I don't think there's probably anybody who stopped practicing because they figured it, they felt it, and they saw it. It was probably never going to be the same.
Yeah.
And even if they've done the same practice, if they've done the same Kriya again and again, Kriya is a set of exercises. So if they've done that, they feel different every time. So slowly, steadily, not that the attachments may have gone in different areas of their lives, but just to the practice that, I'm not feeling that today. No, but I always give them that little warning or a caution, or I tell them that, don't be attached to that in a lighter way. If you've had your first crush in life, you may never feel that in like the years go by. Maybe there'll be another way of seeing something else, but that will still not be that because you've evolved every single day.
Yeah.
You've learned so much.
Yeah.
It still remains the chemistry, but it may never be that, So I think that's how it's so easy to just reflect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautifully said. And there's another person in this room who would relate to this much better. Lads just going through a breakup.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, dude. I announce it on every podcast.
Well, he's okay with that. He knows that's his way of, maybe having more in life. No, just that when one thing goes away, there's so much space for you to go into your own self. Maybe you're your own best crush, best buddy at this time. Yeah,
absolutely. And while you were just mentioning about people not feeling the same way the next day, it reminds me of an analogy this athlete elite athlete Alexei Papas draws. She says her coach told her that in training you're not supposed to feel great all the time. Because when you, as an athlete, you train and then you go to the coach and say, it was a terrible session. I don't think I'm going to be ready for this event and this and that. And then the whole chain of thoughts, right? You go down that hole. And then he told him, you're supposed to feel great a third of the time. And you're supposed to feel okay a third of the time. And you're supposed to feel crappy a third of the time. So, that's how it is in life as well.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, if I was someone that if I have to, I just don't go into even believing any of that. I would just want to say, it's okay to not even know that.
Yeah.
It's
just that if you're feeling happy, like maybe 2/3 of the time or 3 of all the time, then that's a problem. That's something to solve.
That's very fair. That's actually a very practical way of seeing it also.
Yeah.
But, sometimes when you're more like how I address the way I probably see few things, or maybe that's how I'm shown things, is that energetically things may look very different. Even those 1/3 and 2/3 or whatever that is transpired by something else. So is that really that? Is that something else?
Yeah.
So that's how probably, just brainwashing myself from having to believe anything, and just best is to just, for me or this, the body, the gift it is, that let it just show you what it is.
Yeah.
Like
let it unfold.
Let it be.
Yeah.
Like, of course, there's worry sometimes.
Sure.
There is anxiety sometimes. There is so much. But coming to that, I really want to also share that this is a huge subject these days. And that's why with Kundalini Yoga, what happens is there's a lot of psychosomatic work which is being done.
What's that?
So any emotion is when we say, I have physical pain. And I'm sure you very well would be aware of it. So that physical pain was never physical pain. It was definitely psychological. It takes us many, many, many years till it becomes physical.
Wow.
And, it may sound very weird sometimes because like, bethe, somebody will say, mera na pair mur gaya. Okay, I just twisted my foot. And it could be very annoying, if that happens to my student, and I would ask them, what were you thinking before that? And not all of them would get annoyed. Some of them would literally sit there and they'll be like, actually, yeah, I think I was just all over. Or something like this was happening.
Interesting. Never reflected on that way. Wow.
So what happens is that the body is so intelligent. It stores it. No? Now, it could be something about somebody, not feeling okay to even go to a certain place. I'm just saying, for example. And all she knows is that she gets a knee lock. And what is the body trying to tell you at that time? So saying psychologically or psychosomatically, when we have things going on, it's the psychology we are looking at, whatever our mind, whatever we are thinking, we're doing, how we are seeing it. Now that is what is actually going within us, which is constantly working.
Yeah.
Now that may become your habit, that may become a pattern, that may become anything. Now to break it, you have to start, when you start to break it, and that's when the body starts to free up.
Yeah.
People's pain start to disappear.
Yeah.
They start to become more prosperous in life. That's one of the things with Kundalini.
Huh.
There's prosperity which flows in, there's
Wow.
joy which flows in, your relationship starts to change, your auric field expands, electromagnetic field is strong. Your life will be different.
What is auric field and electromagnetic field?
It's similar, it's same. So aura is as shared, at least by what I have understood, is that the field, when we practice, we create this electromagnetic field. So electromagnetic field is also nowadays...
Is that scientifically?
It's scientifically.
Wow.
And now what happens is that field, even Dr. Joe Dispenza, meditation really helps to create the field. Now what I mean is that with machines also this is being done these days. No? Like I know when my partner, my husband, had a slip disc issue, so there were these machines, and they're from France, and those machines helped him to put the disc back, and he said this is to help the electromagnetic field. Now when you have a strong field, which we also call, when people say aura, aura can be seen, people are clairvoyant and all that, but what happens is, then when that field is strong, as psychosomatically our mind and our emotions are going to be more balanced. These are little signals we get. When our field is strong, we may not be affected by XYZ issues or people or whatever. Because it's in all over, it should be 8 by 8 feet. 8 by 8 feet. Around you. Okay, the width, the height, and everything. If that's your field every day, which means you're cleaning your field every single day,
wow,
you are as less as much, prone to physical issues also. It's like, you have this whole, it's like a big
airbags
bubble
around you. Yeah.
It's like a bubble or an airbag, and things will just come and bounce back. Again, you can't see it. Again, if somebody
it's a mental framework.
It's energetically, if you see it, now you see it on machines. You see the aura and you see the fields and stuff. You see the colors, what's happening inside you.
Really? Do you see that on the machines?
There is, there are machines now, you can see them.
Is it also shown that, so every person then walks around with their own electromagnetic field, and doing a practice like a Kundalini yoga and some other practices, I believe, expands that field?
Yeah, even meditation highly expands it. So we always, even in this practice, our practice has to have a Kriya set of exercises and a meditation. It could be many, there are thousands of them. But anything you do, so what happens is that even in a meditation, when you're aware and there are thoughts, and then, you're cleaning up the garbage, and you're constantly, there is this cleaning action happening, you as a channel, you as all your what we call the chakras, they start to clean up. Now when that starts to clean up, obviously when you're lighter, your field is different. The same person may not annoy you, or the same situation may not perturb you. So this is like simply maybe understanding what the field could be like, or what the energy work, or how to magnify these fields. So meditation is also a great way to do that.
What is the essential purpose of this electromagnetic field? Like speaking from survival point of view, evolution point of view, why would we have developed this?
Well, okay, so why do we, people choose to buy cars if they have an airbag or if it doesn't have an airbag?
Okay.
And sometimes the purpose is just because they have better security. And it can save their lives. Something which can instantly take care, and it can soak in that, what you call the shock, and then, you're still safe. You may get hit, but maybe, I'm saying that, it's again not 100%, but then you have better chances. So this is like we have our field. When this field is strong, the purpose it's like a shock absorber. It will be like a, something, what you're thinking, everything that you're projecting, you'll be more and more mindful of it.
Yeah.
And that is what is going to be right in front of you,
Yeah.
So I see you, you see me, these are projections. And when we start to notice that we recognize that every person is me, we can change and magnify even more. Then there is no you and me. Then what is the purpose really? My way to see it is your field, when it becomes expansive, you're more happier, you're joyful, your surroundings
You're
are
more
happier.
tranquil. Yeah.
And that is where this planet is. We all need that. I think that for me is the purpose. I don't know about anything much more because, we can make as much money. We can have as much better houses. We can have as many big cars. There's nothing wrong with it. And there's nothing right about it to me. But at the same time, am I happy? Did I have a purposeful day today?
Yeah.
No. So having that, this way of life for me at least, or the way I'm surrounded with the community we hang out in, I think that makes us a little bit more happier.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, even if I think from a skeptic's point of view who does not, let's say, believe in any of this, you can try for yourself, like just a situation thrown at you and you take a few deep breaths, just a few deep breaths, and that changes the way that thing is affecting you or not affecting you and your reaction, whether you're about to react to that or not, and your reaction changes. Just doing that, it does it so much. You can only imagine how much doing it systematically on a constant, regular basis, how much change that can bring about in your life.
So it's like, how you say as much as sweetener you add becomes sweet, your drink or whatever.
Right.
So as much as everyday conscious breath work you add, because breath work, being conscious is very hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Inhalation comes in naturally, right?
Yeah.
To exhale, how much can we exhale is a capacity we can develop. Even if we inhale more, the size of our lungs are not going to change.
Yeah.
We can expand it every time, right?
Yeah.
And then that can give us better oxygen, clean up our system, better flow of the blood, all of that. But how do we exhale? Exhalation is to let go. Inhalation is to be able to receive. And having that consciousness in our breath, when even in a situation, and if you find yourself that I'm not breathing okay, so that could be because I can't receive from this person, or I don't like to be around this, or I don't like the situation. And it's just what you said. There, you can take a deep breath.
Yeah.
It changes something, right? So just that's the game.
Yeah, so we talked about electromagnetic fields. Tell us about how does the chakra system fit into this?
So, typically Kundalini yoga is always seen as the chakras. Like we work through the chakras, 7 main chakras. And in the lineage I practice, we have 8 chakras. We call it the auric field, electromagnetic field is the 8th one. Like how we believe there's, something on the top of the head and the 1,000 petals and stuff. Yeah. So what chakras really are is these are energy centers. Every energy center which sits in our body, like at the base of the spine, and then we have, for the sexual organs, and then we have for the solar, for the stomach area or the digestive system, heart center, throat, third eye, and the field here.
Yeah.
So we have all these systems, and which cannot be seen on an MRI or a scanner. Yeah. But on the scanning of the colors of the chakras, that those machines are now there, so you can see it. Now, what happens is these energy centers are they are the center of the organs around, and the flow of the blood and all the systems which are working in that area. So when one energy center is strong, it can give that strength to the next, because how the energy moves in the whole body.
Yeah.
Again, the belief is, if you see in the yogic anatomy, we see the movement of the energy goes from bottom to the top. To be meditative, the energy has to come from below to top. In psychosomatic way, emotions live in the lower body. We call it the lower triangle.
Yeah.
And we hold 3 main centers or the chakras in the lower triangle. And then we have 3 main up, while heart is your center point. So when your heart center or the heart chakra starts to open more, your whole body, your whole energy system will start to change as well. And vice versa, if other energy centers or the chakras are more in balance with certain kriya, certain meditations, then it will give boost to the other systems as well. And it's also very easy then to find out what system is not really working well in my body. If my gut doesn't feel good, is it just the gut? Is it connected to the emotions in my heart? Or is it my thought? So which chakras or energy centers are you projecting your life from? So all this is a play in Kundalini Yoga as well. We work through all of this when we practice.
Amazing. That gets me excited. Tell us about healing, because you talk about healing. What do you mean by it?
When I talk about healing,
healing from trauma is understandable. Someone needs healing. But do you think everyone needs healing? And what is it? What is healing?
Essentially healing, we're all healers inside. I don't think healing can come from outside. You can have you can have someone assist you and someone guide you. But ultimately, nobody can go inside your body to do it.
Sure.
Yes, you can channel, we can channel energy for people. We can see through sometimes energy moving in their bodies and stuff. But again, that is at the will of the person. How much do they want to let go? Healing only begins, or the body only starts to heal or relax or recover when you're willing to let go of what you're holding. So that's, again, a very conscious thing. You may go to 100 healers when you have some physical issue.
Yeah.
But that will not get resolved till you address it.
Yeah.
Till you psychologically address it. Till you address it with your body. Literally, like if I say healing, I would ask my body, what is it that you're asking me? Tell me, show me. And body will give you signs.
Yeah.
So that is healing. Heal with your own selves. You don't have to go anywhere. We're in an Aquarian age. I know this is another topic now. Aquarius, this age we have entered from Piscean is the age of that says, I know. It's not the age, can you tell me? This is the age when people know it. You just have all the tools to work.
We need an episode to learn about the ages. But the healing bit just makes, like, I literally got goosebumps. It makes so much sense to me. People spend their entire lives running from doctor to doctor and they're looking for healing.
Astrologers
and pundits
and many more. Yeah.
And Maulvis and whatnot.
Yeah.
And even psychologists and psychiatrists and they're all of them are actually good. They're trying to do what they can.
Absolutely.
But you're absolutely right. The person actually just keeps running around from one to another because you're looking for a solution outside and without addressing the real thing. And a psychologist is a good one because they may make you reflect on things. But then psychologists will require you to do some work. And that's what people are not willing to do. So they will just take the prescription. Acha, this is what I need to do. Go back home and do nothing and then look for medicines again. And
So I feel sick when I eat this food, but I love the taste so much.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
Either you don't complain, you get sick.
Yeah.
Either you just stop eating that food.
Absolutely. And there's no mystery around it.
There is no mystery. I think this is where I enjoy how working with this technology of Kundalini works so beautifully. It's like, it's flawless because there you just are working through your body. Forget anything where, you involve anyone, any teacher, anybody who has to give you anything. You are your teacher in this. You're your own master. When you work inside, like I said, stop when you need to stop. Do a little bit more. Okay, 10 more seconds. Just pause, stay in that.
Yeah.
And see what will happen. Your body will have a natural way to release cortisol. You do not need to hold that anymore. You will get the gush of adrenaline. You will get the gush of, all the happy hormones which will make you happy.
Yeah.
So it's again a choice end of the day,
Yeah.
And another topic, of course, we'll have to do when some things are karmic, when you're born with some things. That's another thing altogether.
That's another rabbit hole. We should, let's Let's do another one. Let's wrap this one up with right. So let's talk about your retreats. You do quite a few of them. Paint us a picture of what does it look like, and what do you do there?
So
What can one expect when they come for one?
Come for a retreat. So I'm going to build it up. Retreat usually comes from our people who've been practicing for a while.
I see.
Not necessarily. Some may have just done few classes. Some may, and they are ready to go and take a break. Break with themselves. Take a whole time to be with themselves in a place which could be away. My whole purpose is to be in nature. Like many people do, many teachers do. But I like to always find something. Like this time, my retreat just got over in a sacred grove. It's in ahead of Jaisalmer. So, in a place where it's an ancestral land. Now, everything contributes to you, right? When we are in our homes, it contributes. So in a place where nature, the environment will contribute, we practice, we wake up very early. In Kundalini Yoga, we have something called sadhana, like in Vipassana or everywhere we have. But here, our sadhana has mantras and it has a practice. We start our sadhana with a prayer, and that prayer is actually Japji Sahib. So we start with that, and we do like 2.5 hours of morning, which I'm currently doing every day online. I offer it for free these days. It's 5 to 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. We finish it, and then in a retreat, it's the same way. We have a sadhana. We enjoy our breakfast, and then we get in another session, a good 2 hours, another practice. Okay. Now that practice is like in that circle. We are in a safe space. We are journaling. We want to go deeper into our psychosomatic issues, our body issues, and then also take time out to recover. So, the whole day is planned. It could be if my retreat is in Pondicherry, people would like to step out for a bit and then they want to explore. But we come back again in the evenings together when we meditate. And that's how we have this whole day about at least 2 to 3 sessions of Kundalini Yoga.
Okay.
And then when you go back, they don't want to go back because they just want to keep doing it. So retreat is my annual thing, which I do.
Okay.
But with that, I would love to share quickly that there are trainings now in India. After many years, we have formulated it finally. So we have our teachers training, but we also have very interesting courses. There's one called 21 Stages of Meditation.
Okay.
So that's those are like our these in 2025 we are going to be doing those 10. Those are like retreats. Family you can come and do it. So those are like 3 stages we take you through in 21 stages. So
Beautiful. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram, amritnaam108. You'll also see me as Gunjan Amrit Kochhar because Gunjan's my childhood given name, which still gets used. Amrit Naam has been my spiritual name. So there's no attachment, but I respect both of them. So Amrit Naam 108 is Instagram and same for Facebook. And I have a website, amritshala.com. And it's also, you can, there's another, tag to it, Amrit Shala of consciousness.com. So either will take you to my page, the website, and it has a lot more information about whatever I offer.
Wonderful. So I actually have quite a few more questions, and we should definitely get around to doing this again.
Sure.
There are quite a few topics that you just touched upon, and they made me so much more curious. So we should definitely plan another one. For now, thank you for making time, and what a beautiful way to start the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.